and that product fixed that in a few weeks. I saw a big change on my skin. Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I want to focus this video on one skincare ingredient which has been very popular and very trendy for the past few years, and as you can tell by the video, I am talking about niacinamide. I motivated myself to make that video because niacinamide is an ingredient that can work for all skin types, so anyone watching this video can benefit from knowing more about it. You can already find plenty of articles and videos online or on YouTube about the ingredient niacinamide, but they tend to focus more on what the studies have to say. And as a content creator who loves skincare and who has been using products containing niacinamide for almost 10 years now, I would like to add to this conversation my personal experience with that ingredient, because in the end, what matters the most when it comes to skincare is real life personal experience and results more than the studies. Vitamin B3 is also called niacin. Niacinamide is also vitamin B3. It is vitamin B3 in a different form, and it is a vitamin that you can naturally find in different type of food. It is a vitamin that is very important in our nutrition for our health. Now, the ingredient niacinamide, which is found in our skincare products, are chemical ingredients which are synthetically made in labs by chemists. Niacinamide has been studied for medicine reasons for decades now, and when it comes to skincare, the first study I could find dates 1995, and it was a study about niacinamide and acne. Then started 2000 to the recent years, you can find many studies on niacinamide looking at different skincare benefits. And in this bulk of studies, you can find studies made by universities, and you can also find studies made by private companies which own skincare brands like Procter & Gamble. And I am mentioning this brand because when I was doing my research, I found many studies which was made by this company. All those studies on niacinamide were made looking at a concentration between 2% and 5%, and they found so many benefits that I won't be able to list all of them, but I'm gonna show most of it on the screen. And looking at it, you can see that anyone can really benefit from it, no matter if you have dry skin, oily skin, acne-prone skin, aging skin, or even hypersensitive skin. And I'll tell you in a moment what the benefits are for my skin. Now, I want to be clear here. When it comes to conclusions from studies, it has to be looked at with a grain of salt because studies can have many flaws. For instance, the number of subjects used in the study can be too low to have proper conclusions, or maybe the method used to measure the results of the studies can be done incorrectly. Also, the people who do the study can be influenced to exaggerate the results. And last but not least, since we are talking about skincare ingredients here, we also have to remember that skincare brands very often do their own studies, so they can also have financial benefits to inflate certain results and diminish others. And obviously, so many other things can go wrong in a study. Most people online, including myself, bring studies when it comes to the topic of skincare, but they only look at the abstracts of a study where many important information are missing in order to get an idea of the quality of the study. Also, you can have content creator which will talk about study without even looking at the abstract. They just repeat what they have heard from someone else without ever checking the source. To me, even when it comes to a study that has been done properly, a study of quality, I still see the result just as an information that tells me if an ingredient is worth looking into it. It tells me if an ingredient has potential, but that does not tell me how an ingredient is gonna work on my skin. So when people tells you this ingredient has amazing results in the study, always remember that it does not mean that it's gonna work for you. It just means that this ingredient has some potential for some people. Now, when it comes to niacinamide, I must say that there have been many studies, whether it is coming from public universities or private companies, for more than 20 years when it comes to skincare, and it appears that they see many benefits from this ingredient, which for me is enough to think that it has potential. And obviously, if you know my channel, you know that I love this ingredient for my skin. Niacinamide is an ingredient that has been very popular and trendy in skincare for the past few years now, and it started with the success of the brand The Ordinary and their 10% niacinamide serum, which pushed other brands who decided to copy the concept of The Ordinary brand to also launch their 10% niacinamide serum. The brand The Ordinary was launched in 2015, but I actually learned about the ingredient niacinamide before the brand was even launched, still in 2015, on a trip to Canada. On my way back from Canada, I had Canadian dollars in cash left, and at the airport I came across the brand SK2, which at the time was not sold in France. I knew about the brand because I've been into skincare for many years, and I knew it was a great Japanese brand, despite the fact that it is crazy expensive. So I took the opportunity to use that money left and to be able to buy this brand at a duty-free to select one product. The product was called Brightening Specialist, and I chose it because the goal is to even out and brighten the skin, which used to be a problem for me. And also I liked the fact that it was fragrance-free, and at the time it was very complicated to find fragrance-free products. So I bought it, used it, and after a few weeks only, after less than a month, I saw a big change on my skin. I was so pleased with that change that later I decided to make a blog post on my blog that I used to run about this product. So the main change that I saw was skin that was overall brighter and more even toned. I'm not talking here about my dark spots due to acne. I'm talking about the fact that sometimes, and especially when you are black or when you have dark skin, your complexion overall can be uneven with lighter areas and darker areas. It can also look dull, and it used to be like this for me, especially during the transition from summer to fall and winter. Usually in summer my skin was fine, But when the season started to be colder, my skin tone was looking dull and uneven, and it had been that way since I was a teenager, and that product fixed that in a few weeks. I also noticed that my skin texture was smoother. I noticed that my pores were smaller. I noticed that my very oily skin at the time was less oily. It was still oily, don't get me wrong. I've always had oily skin, but it really was less oily. I also had less acne, especially at a time when I used to have more acne than I do now. And there is also something which I did not notice at the time, but looking back, I realized that now that my skin was less dehydrated. I used to have an oily skin which would be very often dehydrated in the winter, and that product fixed that. So it did a lot to my skin, so much that I looked at the ingredient list to know what was doing this to my skin, and I noticed 2 ingredients high on the list which I had never seen before at the time. One was galactomyces, which I learned later is often used in Asian skincare, especially in the brand SK2. That is one of their star ingredients. And the second ingredient was niacinamide. I did not repurchase this product because of the price, but my brain remembered those 2 ingredients. And 2 years later, when I came to find out about the brand The Ordinary, and especially the niacinamide serum, I remembered the name niacinamide. I noticed that this serum was much cheaper than the SK2 serum. So obviously I decided to buy it and give it a try. So my story and experience with niacinamide started with the brand SK2, but it really got more serious when I started to use the niacinamide serum, which was launched with a concentration of 10%. I don't know the concentration on the SK2 serum because they did not disclose it. So I used the Ordinary serum and I noticed almost similar benefits than I got from SK2, but it was less pronounced. I didn't see a change when it came to my acne, but I saw that my skin was a little bit less oily. My texture was a little bit smoother. My skin long term was more hydrated, but that's something I noticed quite recently actually, and I talked about it later. What I noticed the most was again that my skin tone overall was much more even. And for a few years the only niacinamide serum I bought was the one from The Ordinary. I don't know why this brand chose to create a 10% niacinamide serum, since the studies focused on 2 to 5% only, but that's what they did. And as a consequence, all the new skincare brands who decided to copy the successful concept of The Ordinary also launched 10% niacinamide serum. So on the market, that's what you see the most. After the 10% niacinamide serum, I tried one brand which released at the time a 5% niacinamide serum, which is called Garden of Wisdom. I think they have changed their name now, so I will put the new name on the video. So they had, and they still has, a 5% niacinamide serum. So I bought it years ago, I tried it, and I liked it a lot. The result was similar to the ordinary serum, but I actually felt that it was a little bit better when it comes to making my skin texture a little bit smoother. I also enjoyed that the texture was more pleasing than the one from the ordinary. The ordinary texture is thick and quite foamy when you apply it on the skin, and it dries quite fast, meaning that when you apply the serum on your face, by the time you go to the next step, your moisturizer for instance, in a few seconds the serum will be dry on your face and your skin will feel dry if you are not fast enough. So you need to apply it, and super quickly you need to apply your moisturizer on top. With the serum from Garden of Wisdom, it felt more moisturizing. It's not a moisturizer, let me be clear, but it felt moisturizing enough that you have time to relax before you go to your next step and apply your moisturizer. During those few minutes, your skin will feel moisturized. But the thing I do not like about this product is the packaging, which is really annoying to get the right amount of product, and especially when there is less product in the bottle, the pump doesn't really work, so you need to open the bottle and push the product like this on your hand, so that is really not user friendly. Now I will show you the new packaging on the screen, and what I tried was the old packaging with the old name of the brand. So maybe this new packaging is better, but I don't think that a pump is the best for this type of serum. Despite that, I have repurchased this niacinamide serum often, because despite the fact that it is a little bit pricier than the ordinary, the feeling on my skin was better. So that's why I bought it a few times, but every time I bought it, I was upset about the packaging. So I would go back and forth between this brand and the ordinary until I tried the niacinamide serum from the brand Geek Gorgeous. And when you look at the ingredient list, this one looks very similar to the ordinary in a sense that niacinamide and zinc PCA are the two important ingredients, and then you can see that the Geek Gorgeous has a little bit more of moisturizing ingredient in the formula, and as a result the Geek Gorgeous serum for me feels like the Garden of Wisdom serum, meaning that it is a little bit moisturizing. The texture is a little bit thick, but not as thick as the ordinary. So in the end, when you apply it on your face, because it is a little bit moisturizing, you don't have to rush to apply your moisturizer or sunscreen, because your skin can maintain this moisture for a few minutes, unlike the ordinary serum. So the ordinary and Geek Gorgeous have niacinamide and zinc PCA, which is supposed to help fight acne and inflammation. The Garden of Wisdom does not have zinc PCA, but for me the ordinary and Geek Gorgeous are no better because of this ingredient. Actually, if I would have to rank them, the Geek Gorgeous and Garden of Wisdom are my favorite, and after only there is the ordinary. So for me, the 5% or 10% did not change the result for my skin, but at the end of the day you have to take everything into account when it comes to any product. The texture, the feeling, many other things have to be taken into account beyond the ingredient. Recently, meaning a couple months ago, I tried a new niacinamide product from the brand Q+A, and it is their moisturizing toner, which contains 3% of niacinamide. The concentration is not written on their website of the product, but I messaged them on Instagram and they gave me this information. So I tried it in the morning and the product did its main job, which is to moisturize the skin, but I saw weeks after weeks a decrease on how even my skin complexion was. So obviously for me the 3% does not work to even out my skin tone. 5% and 10% seems to be working better for me. When I do my skincare videos, when I talk about niacinamide on my other videos, what I mention the most for my skin as a benefit is really the fact that it even out my skin tone. Again, I am not talking about dark spots due to acne. For me, niacinamide by itself does not really do anything special. I'm talking about my overall skin tone. Something I have not mentioned yet on my videos is the fact that niacinamide is also known to improve your moisture retention. And it took me a while to realize that. It's only recently that I thought about it, because I was looking at older videos, and on my older videos, when it is winter time, I often mention that my skin is oily and dehydrated, and I have not done that in years. And when I think about the timing, I realized that it is when I started to use niacinamide consistently, because since 2015 with SK2, then with The Ordinary, then Garden of Wisdom, then more recently with Geek Gorgeous, I've kept that ingredient in my routine because of the result I saw when it comes to brightening and even out the skin tone. But thinking about it, I stopped complaining about my skin being dehydrated during the same time. So I can say that this ingredient helps my skin to not be dehydrated. Now again, I have oily skin, so my skin was not super dehydrated, but still in the winter I used to feel it. And I don't anymore. Almost 10 years ago, when The Ordinary launched its product and when all the brands copy their products, you could basically only find 10% niacinamide serum. Since then, there have been more brands launching their own niacinamide serum, but at different concentration. And I am mentioning that because, like I said at the beginning of the video, the niacinamide was tested and seen as an ingredient that is suited for sensitive skin between 2 to 5%. You won't really find studies at 10% and above. Now, the international success of the 10% niacinamide serum is enough to think that 10% works for many people, but you can also often see people online complaining that their skin can't handle niacinamide, but they are using a 10% serum. Also, in real life, niacinamide is not the only active ingredient you use. You may use salicylic acid, you may use retinol, you may use azelaic acid, and all those actives together plus 10% niacinamide could be too much for your skin. So in my opinion, if you have never used it, or if you don't know if it's gonna work for you, is to try a 5% concentration when possible. Actually, a couple months ago, I was running out of my Geek Gorgeous Niacinamide serum, and I didn't want to order it online because it takes a few days to arrive. I live in Paris. The Ordinary is sold pretty much everywhere, so I decided to buy a niacinamide serum from The Ordinary like I used to do with no problem in the past. But this time when I used it on my skin, I could really feel that it was drying and a little bit irritating on my skin, which was not the case before. But at the same time, my overall skincare routine has changed. I am using more actives than I used to use when I started with The Ordinary serum 9 years ago. So the concentration, but again, the entire formula matters too. Now I know that the Geek Gorgeous is less irritating for my skin, although both products contain the same concentration of niacinamide. So my tips to look for a niacinamide serum would be: first, do not use a niacinamide serum with an ingredient that you know is not working for your skin. Avoid fragrance, because fragrance and not niacinamide could irritate your skin. Same thing for alcohol, same thing for essential oils. Then preferably look into 5% concentration to get the best result, and if it works for you, you can try the 10%. If you cannot find a 5% niacinamide serum because there are not that many, then try a concentration of 10% that seems to have moisturizing and calming benefits. And the one I can advise to you is the one from Geek Gorgeous. Then obviously the price matters depending on your budget and how easy for you it is to get the product also matters, because The Ordinary serum is not my favorite, but maybe that is the only niacinamide serum that you can easily access. When you do your research on niacinamide like I did, you also learn that this ingredient is supposed to be more efficient when it is used into a formula with other actives, and it also helps the other actives to be more efficient. So buying a formula with different actives and niacinamide on top should make the entire formula more powerful. Because this video is about niacinamide, I am particularly talking about formulas where niacinamide is still the main star ingredients, but combined with other sub-active, if I can say it that way. And I've been looking for a while for other niacinamide serums with other actives, but it is difficult for me as I have sensitive skin, because the other actives also need to work well with my skin, which is not easy to find. For instance, last year I have tried this niacinamide serum, which contains 7% niacinamide and 2% tranexamic acid, hoping that I will get great results. And at the time I had never used tranexamic acid on my skin, so I didn't know how my skin would react. And my skin did not react well. My skin broke out because of this product, and I know it is not because of 7% niacinamide, since I have been using 10% for so long. And beyond those two ingredients, the other ingredients in the formula are very basic. So I couldn't properly test, and I can't review this product for you because my skin did not like one of the actives. There are unfortunately many products like this on the market that I can't use because the other actives I already know my skin does not like. Now there are 2 or 3 products that I could try because I have no problem with the other actives. For instance, the one from Paula's Choice has a formula that is very interesting, but at the same time, when I look at the price and when I see how fast I use niacinamide, I don't know if it is worth it to spend that much. Now, I'm not going to talk about it, but I have other products that I use on my skin which contain niacinamide and other actives, but niacinamide is not the main ingredient. When I talk about a niacinamide serum, what I want is something that I can use in the morning very quickly and that I can apply everywhere on my face, including my eye area. So that is something you also have to take into account when you look at a more complex formula with niacinamide. A simple formula with niacinamide is something that you can easily apply all over your face, around your eye area. You don't have to worry about your skin being exposed to the sun. But let's say you use a formula which has niacinamide and retinol, then you can only use this product in the evening and not in the morning. So you have to think about how you want to use this product as well. If you remember the benefits of niacinamide, you will remember as a great antioxidant. It also helps to protect the skin against UV rays, not to a level that a sunscreen will do, but it still has some protective properties. So it is worth looking into a formula that can be used in the morning, in my opinion. Because this ingredient has been seen online and on social media for the past few years as a magic ingredient, and also because those past years brands have been competing with adding higher and higher concentration of actives in their skincare, whether it's good or a bad thing. Because of all of that, some brands have decided to launch 20% niacinamide serum, which is much higher than what the studies have studied. I would not be surprised if in a few years you don't see those high concentration of niacinamide. Now, if you have tried those very high concentration, let me know. I would like to know how it worked for you. The other problem when you use such a high concentration of niacinamide is that there are so many products on the market, so many type of products who have niacinamide in their ingredient list, that you really may overdose on niacinamide. Let's say 20% works for you, so you use this serum, but then you use a sunscreen, and many sunscreens also have niacinamide, and before you use a moisturizing toner, and many of them contain niacinamide, and then you use an eye cream, and many eye creams contains niacinamide, and usually when the concentration is not that high, the brand does not feel the need to mention on the packaging or on the marketing that this product contains niacinamide, because the concentration is low, so they have no reason to think that your skin will be irritating by it. The ingredient is still mentioned in the ingredient list, but unless you look at it, you won't know that there is niacinamide in the product. But if you use all those products and on top you also use a 20% concentration, yeah, probably your skin will be irritating, especially since you probably use other actives like vitamin C, retinol, glycolic acid, all of this in your routine. That is a lot. And to finish, obviously not every single ingredient will work for everyone. So although a 2 to 5% of niacinamide is considered to be suitable for sensitive skin, that does not mean that you can't have an allergic reaction to it, and that doesn't mean that your particular skin may not be sensitive to it. Not every single ingredient and not every single product will work for everyone. As for me, I will continue to use my Geek Gorgeous serum. For now, it is my favorite, but soon I'm gonna try another 5% concentration niacinamide serum from the brand Minimalist, which I have bought recently, so it is on its way to me. We'll see if I prefer this compared to Geek and Gorgeous. As I said in the video, even for myself, if the results are the same, I'd rather use a lower concentration if possible. So if you keep on watching my videos, you will have a feedback on this last product that is on its way to me. In the comment section, I would love to know if you love niacinamide, if you use it, if you see a difference on your skin. It is really the ingredient which has impacted my skin a lot those past years. It is a rare active that I can use on my skin every single day, morning and night. And my sensitive skin usually hates more active, so I was really happy to find this ingredient, to find products that work well with my skin and give great results. And if you also have an active that you love and that has transformed your skin, let me know also in the comment section. I know this video is a little bit long, but sometimes to convey information properly, you need long format video. So thank you for watching until the end, and I will see you on the next video. Bye bye.